Namaste, everybody. It's the Queen Incarnate, the Savage Beauty, the International Face Kicker Sahara 7, and you're watching O Face Wrestling Podcast.
That's right. Oh, Face Wrestling. Listen to the podcast. Listen. They are Dark Side approved. Howden approves it. Oh, Face Wrestling. I'll be listening. Will you?
Hi, I'm MCW Women's Champion Gia Scott, and you're watching O Face Wrestling.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today at O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I'm joined by Kaci Lennox. Thanks for joining us today, Kaci. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So today, Kaci, I got some few questions. I'm really interested in learning a lot more about you. So first question, very basic question. What inspired you to become a professional wrestler?
So I feel like sometimes I get slack for this. But it was either a lingerie or a bikini contest. I can't remember because it was 7 or 18 years ago. It was my very first show at back in Baltimore, and it was like Tori Wilson and Sable and Dawn Marie was back in that era, and I seen them in the contest, and Tori had won, typical, because she won all of them. But she won, and it was that moment, like when she was, doing her little dance or whatever, and the crowd just like reacted so big. I was like, oh my God, this is what I have to do. Because originally I just watched, like my brother just turned it on and I just watched with him. So he was the reason that we were actually going to the show. But seeing her in the ring and seeing, how everyone reacted to her and how she drew that reaction is what made me, say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, for sure.
So it's kind of like her being in the spotlight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Being in the spotlight and like, Tori is not, she's not like just a regular tiny person who, like a model type. Like, she actually works out and she lifts and she has that muscular type. And to me, I kind of feel, oh, this girl is out here. She's strong. She's pretty. She got that reaction from the crowd. So kind of something like that. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, when she came back at the Royal Rumble, I think it was 2018 when they did the first one.
God.
She looked just exactly like she did, like back in the day. So like, she definitely keeps herself in really good shape and takes care of her health. And also, I had to throw that out there too. So how old were you around when like that happened? Like when you're like, hey, I kind of want to do this.
I was 10 or 11 because I started watching. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I was 10 because it was 2002. So yeah, 10 years old. It was an April show. I forget the date.
So like as you got older, like that dream to be a wrestler just continued, or did it kind of like fade off and then you kind of got interested in it again?
No, it definitely continued. When I was 18, like I would go to independent shows like every weekend. And then when I was 18, I could finally train at the school that I wanted to train at. And then like wrestling's just always been a passion for me. I've always been super passionate about it. I've always had friends that have been in the business. I've always watched it, Raw, TNA, or Impact. Literally sorry, I always call it TNA. I'm an old person. I've always watched it, and it's always been something where I'm like, oh, look at what this person does. I could do that, stuff like that, So yeah, it's always been my dream. I may have like derailed somehow and, wanted to do every other thing, but wrestling has always been that dream and that goal. So yeah.
So I will have to say I still do have a habit of calling Impact TNA too, because when I first got into that around like 2011-ish, so it still is TNA to me. But so I know you mentioned like you wanted to the training school that you wanted to go to, and I saw that you were trained by Santana Garrett. So tell me a little bit about that, because I'm actually a big fan of her, so I really want to learn,
Me
behind the
too.
scenes.
So Santana is one of like my closest friends in this business, and she's definitely a huge mentor for me. And she's actually the reason why I chose the school that I originally went to. Because she is a world traveler. She's just so good, and she's so wholesome and respectful and respected So that's why I chose to train there. But Santana's taught me, you know, so much in the ring and a lot outside of the ring. Just how to present myself, how to earn that respect, how to act backstage, like stuff like that. So that's what Tana taught me, and like I can't wait to hopefully be with her soon.
That would
That's
be
my
awesome to
goal.
see you in
That
NXT
would
with her as
be.
well. And I'm
That
going to
would
say
be.
this, you know, I'm sure you're following what's going on. There's that group Retribution. There's like two female in there, and one of them had long hair and had the same coloring as you. So if that is you, I will die. But
I can't say anything.
yeah, I understand. But yeah, so like I do like I've learned it because I do have some friends that are wrestlers, and it's not just training in the ring; it's learning how to like you know conduct things in the locker room, outside of the locker room, all that kind of stuff, and especially with like fans and all. So there's a lot to learn in the wrestling business, and the fact
Yeah.
that Santina like taught you all that is a really good thing because yeah, she could teach you everything she knows in the ring, but then you really need to know how to you know apply a lot of you know your character and just you know because when you're a wrestler, especially the higher up the chain you go, you have a spotlight on you. How you
Right.
act outside of the ring will also have a factor in your bookings. Will is a you know a promotion going to want to book someone if they're you know getting in fights at bars by you
Exactly.
know just crazy stuff like that. But I was going to ask if you know, having a match with Santana would be like a dream match for you, but I do know that you have competed against her before.
I have.
Tell me
I
a little bit,
have.
like wrestling someone who was kind of, I'm assuming she was kind of like a role model, idol for you. So tell me about the experience of wrestling someone who, you know, you felt that type of way about.
Oh my goodness. So I wrestled Santana 6 to 7 months into me training again. And it's so nerve wracking. And I always remember, because I was literally just thinking about this. The finish of our match was her back handspring flippy thing. I'm so bad at names. Uh, so it was that. And I almost kicked out of it, which is so embarrassing. Like when I keep thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, why did I kick out? So it's just it's kind of nerve wracking going into a match with someone that has that much experience because you don't want to mess up, you know, like you can take all the like stuff that you've learned and you're still in that moment. It's like, oh shoot, I have to remember this whole match. I have to not mess up anything. I have to make sure like I don't hit too hard or I don't hit too soft or anything crazy like that. So that was my emotion going into the match was please don't mess up. Don't forget anything. Don't make her look bad because, you know, it's Santana. So definitely nerve wracking, exciting, but nerve wracking. And like, once it was over, it was like, we did it, but it's so nerve wracking. And I'm sure that's how anybody feels like wrestling somebody, whether it's their idol or mentor, or if it's just somebody who, you know, has been around for decades and is great. Like, it's nerve wracking.
Exactly. Like if you're a wrestler in WWE and you're fighting The Undertaker at WrestleMania, you're not going to want to mess that up, you know, regardless if you're a fan of him or not. You know, it's The Undertaker, a legend, you know. If you look bad in that match, people are going to remember you as the guy who had the bad match against The Undertaker. So it's like,
Right.
you know, I can totally relate. Like, I know this is a different scenario, but, you know, I do podcasts. You know, I've interviewed plenty of wrestlers who I've considered some of my favorite. When I have, you know, in general, like anytime I interview a wrestler, I don't want to mess up or, you know, get tongue-tied, anything like that. But when you're interviewing some of your favorites, it's like that extra
Yeah.
pressure is on you because it's like,
It's a whole nother level.
exactly. So I could totally get where you're coming from with that and all.
Yeah.
So the next question. So you had mentioned that you know you're from Baltimore, Maryland. That is the home of MCW. Is that on your list of promotions that you want to wrestle for in the future?
So I've always wanted to wrestle back at home. MCW is pretty much Maryland's, you know, promotion. And that's where I actually MCW didn't have a training facility back then, but they were kind of partnered up with Gilbert's Professional Wrestling Academy. So that was my original school. And they were partnered with them, and I didn't really get any opportunities there, which it is what it is. Stuff happens. But I feel like I would love to work for MCW now. I don't know if I would so much want to work for it back then. Just personally, things that I've been told, to like make it from people who work there, like it kind of rubbed me wrong. So I would like to work there now if they would have me.
That would be awesome, because that's where I'm from here in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
So I actually, like, when I got really into the independent pro wrestling scene, it was because of MCW. I went to a few of their shows. Now I branch out and go to other shows, but MCW is where I got into it. Like, it's a great atmosphere. It's a lot different than any of the other promotions I go to. The one thing I noticed is a lot of the wrestlers actually like go around and interact with the fans before the shows, not just like merch tables, just literally just chatting and stuff like that. And that's how, like, and I've actually become friends with Gia Scott because of that, because we went so often and talked to her and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great atmosphere. I would definitely love to see you there, hopefully in the near future, whenever, because I know right now they're still not operating, because I know some promotions are doing outdoor events. MCW hasn't done that yet. So hopefully things get back to normal soon. So
hopefully soon. Like, I miss wrestling, and I'm like, so I work at SeaWorld. And I already like kind of put myself at risk with catching COVID there. And I didn't want to really put myself at risk catching COVID at like a show. So I kind of like, I'm limiting my bookings right now, but I wish people would get their stuff together so we can wrestle indoors. I mean, outdoors isn't bad, but it's hot outside in Florida. And it's just summertime, so it's hot everywhere else. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely hope that all this stuff is over soon so we can, get back to normal in some kind of way.
Exactly, because I went to an event last month in Jersey, and it was fun. It was cool seeing you wrestling outdoors, but at the same time, it was hot. Like, Holiday, 5 minutes in her match, her face paint's all melted off pretty much. And then when she's awesome. She's actually my personal favorite. But typically intermission is when they do like the meet and greets and all that. It was dark out, so the pictures weren't really the greatest. And like most of the wrestlers, you had to like flash your light on your phone at their table so they could see when they're autographed. And so it was kind of like, it's just not the same, as doing it indoors.
No, it's definitely not. And then I feel like as many like precautions that any promoter or promotion can take, it's really up to I would say like the fans. Like, the promoter can protect the workers, like they got to go to the ring, go back to the locker room. Like, they don't have to go out and sell merch, but when it comes to like the fans and people not wearing masks or not social distancing, that's where it gets a little hard. So that's where I feel it's a bit dangerous, but like I said, hopefully this stuff all ends soon because I'm over it.
Yeah, I hope so too. And like you mentioned, they like in between every match, they Lysol the ropes, they did all this stuff, but they didn't make it mandatory for fans to wear masks. And it was a decent amount of fans there too, more than I was expecting. So if hypothetically one or two people came there sick with the COVID, it could have spread to everyone too. And I started getting worried too, because there was a lot of mosquitoes out there. I'm like, if they bite someone who has it, but apparently it can't, transport to people like
transmit that way.
Yeah. So luckily,
because
I got bit up pretty bad, and I didn't think about that until after. Like, I hope I did not get COVID, but yeah, I didn't get it. So
that sucks. That's another like bad thing. And then rain. It always rains in Florida.
You can't really wrestle in the rain. Yeah, and you can't wrestle in the snow.
We can wrestle in the rain. Just the risk of injury goes up.
Exactly, and it's not going to be fun for the fans. So now the next question, and I'm really actually excited about this. So I saw that you were on like a TV show series called Major League Wrestling. Tell me about that.
So I was signed to Major League Wrestling 2 years ago, and I'm actually almost out of my contract.
Uh-oh.
Which no, it's okay. So I'm almost out of my contract, which means that I can apply for boy and
Uh-oh.
AEW and like Impact and stuff like that. But MLW is like, I've learned so much there. There's so much amazing talent from Low Key to Court himself. I loved working with Tommy Dreamer and Jimmy Havoc. Those were probably my favorite two to work with. And actually, I lied. I loved working with Mance Warner. I feel like him and I had good screen, like a good screen connection. But it's really fun back there. I mean, it's super chill. They bring in a lot of newer talent. Sometimes they get built up, sometimes they don't. It's like any other company. I got to travel all over, and I just got to learn. I mean, you're looking at MLW has producers and videographers from WWE, from Impact. So these people have worked in these bigger places, and they know, how things should work. So I kind of learned how it should work before I actually get there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good learning experience.
Yeah, that's like really important too, because I've seen it happen where, WWE signs like wrestlers from the indies and they're not familiar with a lot of these different things like the camera angles and how to kind of like present yourself when you come out and stuff like that, because they don't always like teach you that in the indies. So like, doing stuff like that, it really gives you that edge and that experience that you need if you want to get to like the bigger shows that, produce stuff on TV and stuff like that. So personally, I really didn't know much about it until I was like doing a little research on you. So I wasn't sure if it was like an actual, some kind of like reality show, if it was actually like a televised like wrestling show or anything like that.
No, so it's similar. I would compare it to let's say Impact. Whereas we would every month we would shoot a certain amount of episodes, and it's normally 4. So every month we shoot 4 weeks of TV, and then we do all the backstage stuff. We do, the segments, we do the matches. So super similar to Impact, I would say. It's just that they'll either hire like older talent or, like I said, the newer talent. And they would just put on these crazy matches, which not crazy, whereas they do like every little thing, but crazy where, I mean, kind of like they do every little thing. Like Teddy Hart used to do everything, but that's Teddy Hart. So, yeah, they would just hire some older talent, some newer talent. They would put them together, and eventually the newer talent would grow themselves and they would build. And yeah, they would just make names for themselves. So yeah.
Gotcha.
That is
so seems like really convenient where you can get your whole month's worth of episodes and in like a few tapings and then you're done. But yeah, that makes sense. It's good having the mixture of the veterans and the newer people because they can learn from the veterans. Right. At the same time, it's a good way to kind of like put them over in the ring too, and you have the newer person beat the veteran, passing up the torch kind of thing. So yeah, I do like when you see promotions do that. Because at the end of the day, like you do need the veterans to be there to help, with all the stuff. Like you mentioned, like everything that Santana taught you. You don't actually have to be a trainer to teach people this stuff. It's just the knowledge that you learn from
right. And stuff. Right. And you can just learn it from literally backstage talks or anything. It doesn't have to be, like you said, at a school in a training session. It can just be having lunch at Starbucks or something like that. You can just learn so much. But yeah, that is MLW.
Exactly. And I have to mention too, or podcasting, because I talk to so many wrestlers. I've learned so much of, about the wrestling business and industry and all that kind of stuff too. So you can learn a lot in so many different ways, shapes, and forms.
Right. No, exactly. Totally right.
So now the next question, I want to, learn from you, like experience from being an indies wrestler. Cause I know like you all, I mean, obviously you do have that contract, with, what was it? The Major League, wrestling. But if you don't have a contract with, a specific promotion, you basically hinge on the bookings. If you're not being booked, you're not wrestling, you're not getting paid. So tell me a little bit about like the good and bad of being a wrestler on the indies, when it comes to like the bookings and all.
So I mean, I've been blessed I have a shoot job, so I've been blessed there to not have to rely so much on indie bookings. But I know that for other friends of mine that don't have a shoot job, I know when COVID hit, they were like SOL. So they don't have any money coming in. I mean, if they have any saved up, then they can use that, but sometimes that's not even enough. So that would be what I say is one of the hard things, is not being, how would you say, prepared for situations like not getting a booking or for a booking being canceled. Sorry, my earphone's falling out. Stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
What would you say? What stories have you heard that are bad about kind of being an independent wrestler not under contract?
Well, most of the wrestlers that I've, talked to, they all, have jobs as well. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. But as far as trying to turn it into a career, I mentioned, Matthew Palmer, I've had him on my show before, and he was talking about they come and go, you'll get all these bookings and then you won't, and stuff like that. And a lot of wrestlers, they most of their profit is in their merch, and and so it also depends on if people want to buy your merch, how many people actually show up to the event. If you go to an event and there's not a lot of people there, you're not going to sell a lot of merch too. So it can be a struggle to kind of just get out there. And also I've learned, because my friend that wrestles for MCW, she says that these promotions don't pay for you to travel. So
no, and that's where it's rough as well. And I feel like that's kind of where I want to say that's where the women's kind of revolution comes into play sometimes. Because I feel like promotions should be paying at least some part of your trans. And when they don't, and when females allow that to happen, it makes it harder on the rest of us. So it makes it seem like we're asking for too much if we ask for a trans to get covered. And that will limit your bookings, because they'll say, oh, I can just go get somebody else who's cheaper. And that's not, it doesn't make us look good as females. It doesn't make anybody look good to, discount yourself. You know your worth. And that this is such a common thing to say, know your worth. But when you're in wrestling, you definitely have to understand your value and your worth that you're bringing to the company. So yeah, that part, that sucks. Like you said, shows not having a lot of fans, not having a lot of merch. We're not selling a lot of merch. Right now with COVID, a lot of people are still out of their jobs. So even if you don't have shows, you could still sell merch, especially for females. We can easily throw in a bikini and make 8x10s. But if there's a situation like what's going on now and people don't have money, throwing on that bikini and making an 8x10 probably won't do you any good. Because I know I've had people who message me and say they want to purchase, but they just, don't have the funds right now, which is fine. I understand that. But it's stuff like that. Or if you get injured, you run the risk of when you're signed and you get injured, most companies kind of put you in another role. They'll still keep you kind of in the picture, but you just can't wrestle. If you're an independent, athlete and you get injured, you kind of have to figure out yourself how to stay relevant. And some people that's hard for, but yeah, that's another negative drawback.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're basically working for yourself, and you get to work to get these bookings, which may or may not be hard for others. I guess it just depends on your name and stuff like that, and how much you're willing to travel too. Because you may not have a wrestling promotion in your area, or they may just not want you. Because I've talked to some wrestlers and they say, hey, I'm not the type that they want.
Yeah.
Some promotions, they have their certain vision on the kind of wrestlers and the look and all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have that look, that promotion can be 10 minutes from your house, but they may not want you. You have to venture to further, and it sucks. I'm turned off by promotions who don't, promote diversity. I love when you see just about everything at a show. So that is a challenge too. I mean, that's the world we live in, and it sucks. But yeah,
It is, and it does suck, and it doesn't give the person they turn down could be the next big star,
exactly.
So instead of booking them for $50 when they were nobody, now you're gonna have to book them for $150 when they're somebody. But like when you're at a show, you don't want to constantly see the same people. Like fans need like variety. It makes your brand kind of stale when you use the same people. But that's
Exactly.
just how I feel.
You may not think you want it, but then you really might actually want it. Like I mentioned, I go to MCW. They pretty much have the same roster, and they don't really necessarily bring in a lot of new people. I'm content. I love the wrestlers that wrestle there. But when I went to Primetime Wrestling in DC and I saw all these other wrestlers I never knew, but I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. And then when I went to that event in Jersey, which was an all women's event, I discovered so many women that I'm actually a fan of now. And I've had a few of them on my show already. Like it's like like I said, you may not know it, but then when you actually discover all these new wrestlers, you're like, wow, this is really cool. Let me go out and go to check out all these other promotions and stuff like that.
Right.
Exactly.
Or it'll be like you see somebody on MCW that would be perfect to feud with, somebody at Primetime. So it's little things like that, but yeah,
exactly.
Those are the sucky parts of independent wrestling.
Exactly. I have my dream matches that I want to see, but hopefully we'll see that one day. So now speaking of matches and all that kind of stuff, so is there any particular wrestlers on the indies that you haven't worked with that you really want to work with sometime in the future?
I haven't worked so I've trained with Big Swole. I would love to work with her. She's just great, just in general. She's not really on the independents anymore. I mean, I think with her contract she can still work certain independent shows, but her for sure. Let's see who else is on the independents. I've seen Gia Scott, since you brought her up earlier. I've seen her at MCW. I love working with Kikyo. She's based out of California, I believe. Still, maybe, I don't know. I love working with her. Who else do I want to work with on the indies? Oh, I want to work with Cameron Bernay.
Cameron, I love her. I've had her on the show twice.
She's my favorite. We've roomed together. We just didn't actually wrestle each other. But she seems really, really good. So I definitely want to work her. Who else? I don't know. I feel like that's the list I'm gonna give you.
That's totally fine. I like that list. Like I said, I love Cameron. Me and her talk regularly. I would love to see that match. Of course, I would love to see you come to MTW and challenge Gia.
Me too.
Like I said, that me too. But yeah, I'm definitely down to see them matches and all. So now the last question I got for you, and this is kind of not wrestling related, but so in general, what would you want your fans to know about you that's non-wrestling related? What are you passionate about?
I would say I'm passionate about wrestling. Oh my goodness.
Well, outside of wrestling, of course.
I am passionate about I would say either I'm passionate about fitness, because I do go to the gym all the time and I'm constantly not constantly, but if anybody ever needs advice regarding working out or anything diet wise or anything like that, I always give kind of what works for me or what I've learned thus far in my training journey. I would say I'm passionate about that. And then I'm also passionate about photography. So if I wasn't in wrestling, if I wasn't doing wrestling, that sounds so awkward. If I wasn't doing wrestling, if I wasn't a wrestler, I would definitely be doing some kind of digital media, whether it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera. I don't think I'd be a good actress, but I could do something behind the scenes. And that's what I was going to do if, wrestling wasn't it for me. I was going to go to Full Sail, and I was going to do some digital media, and I would have been in debt for a very long time.
I mean, you still could do that after, your wrestling
Okay.
career, because, I mean, you can't wrestle forever, just the body won't allow it,
Man.
even though some wrestlers like
mean,
Ric Flair try, but, you always got to, like, set yourself up for, life after, wrestling. So, I mean, there you go. You got something that you're passionate about, and it's something you can, like, gradually, like, learn more about and improve during your wrestling career. And if hypothetically you sign with WWE or AEW, you could do something for them afterwards too. It's especially in WWE. AEW is too new to really know, but WWE, a lot of their wrestlers, when they're done, they do some kind of backstage role, producers.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, so that's something to look, into. I mean, and I think that's really cool that you like to do photography. I feel like that's kind of a lost art with, just how technology is advanced and stuff like that. So
I know everything is on a cell phone. Like I'm on a cell phone right now.
Exactly. I mean, you don't like. I remember like back in like the MySpace days and stuff like that. I had to buy like a camera and then upload it to my computer. Then put it on. Now you just take a picture and you get it in seconds. So
I know it's so crazy.
People don't buy cameras anymore. When you do see the cameras are so expensive at like Best Buy for like $300.
I know. I know. And to go off of your point with WWE, like they have an entire creative lab. So literally I'm friends with somebody who is part of the creative lab. And they do everything. Like they still use cameras. They don't record it on their cell phone.
I don't know. That would be weird, like seeing people like in the ring with a cell phone and stuff like that. So
it would be, and I mean, that came out super awkward. I mean, look at WrestleMania, like the Undertaker versus AJ Styles. Like that's what I would want to do, stuff like that. So you're right. I could get signed and still go to college and hopefully still work at WWE or AEW or Impact after.
Exactly. And I feel like with COVID, that's kind of opening the doors for more, like newer stuff like that. Like we would not have gotten that Boneyard match or the Firefly Funhouse match if there was COVID. Like, so I feel like it's kind of forcing, companies and people in general to kind of like
think outside the box.
And we're gonna start seeing more of that. Like we saw that that Money in the Bank match where they're all like running up, to the building, the swamp match. We're seeing more of this stuff. Even that the Raw Underground Fight Club thing they're doing, like
no, that's super fun.
Exactly.
A lot of my friends have been on there.
Oh really? That's cool. But who are some of your friends that are on there?
So I've had Sophia Castillo has been on there. She was actually the first one. She was the girl that got beat up by Shayna.
Okay, I know who you're talking about now.
The little Costa Rican one. Marina Tucker's been on there, Ariel Dominguez, Chico Adams, who else? What is her? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name. Oh, Dante Marquise has been on there. Just a lot of people have been on there. I mean, they're getting beat up, but hey, they're getting their face out there,
Exactly.
So,
like you could put me on WWE to get beat up. I mean, I could say I was on Raw, so.
Listen, I'll sell like Shawn Michaels for you.
Exactly. Hell yeah. But like I was saying, just like in general, we're seeing more of this stuff, and as time goes by, we're going to start seeing more and more. So it's going to open up more jobs and opportunities for people like you who want to do these things. So
it's super cool, and it's like like when I first heard about the whole like Boneyard match, and I don't know if it's just me, but like I feel like other people probably thought, oh, this is going to be weird and crappy, and WWE is not going to know how to do it. But honestly, that match was great. Like the whole segment was great. The Firefly Funhouse, that was freaking phenomenal. Like people think that WWE doesn't know what they're doing, but nah. They are on top of their game right now, and it's actually really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, they do know what they're doing. They've been around for decades, so they're doing something
right.
But I remember, like, me and my friends, we were talking about that Boneyard match. We weren't saying, oh, it's not going to be good. They're going to mess it up. It was like, what are they going to do? Like, you know, it's kind of like we
Yeah.
were so curious because we never heard of a boneyard match. And if you would have told me it was going to be like a theatrical kind of, you know, thing, I would have probably said, oh, I'm not going to like this because I'm not used to something like that. But I ended up loving it. It's like, I want to see stuff
It
like
was
that.
so
Not
good.
like, I don't want to see like a whole episode of SmackDown doing it, but like, I like seeing it in, you know, the small doses, you know, maybe like once every pay-per-view or something like that. But it's what the future's going to be looking like. They're going to be doing more stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
We evolve, you know, the times change and stuff like that. So I think wrestling is going to start getting more advanced. They got to take advantage of the technology too. You know, you got to keep up
Oh,
with
I
it.
know. I know. It was
But,
good. I loved it.
yeah, me too. I liked it too, and I'm not complaining about them doing more of that stuff. They didn't do anything like that for SummerSlam, I don't think. No.
They did not. They did
Yeah.
not.
I had
No.
to think about that for a second, but yeah, I wanted to see them do something like that with like a women's match now, like maybe something.
Oh, that'd be fun. But SummerSlam was still good. I feel like they don't, like you said, you don't want to see it like for a whole SmackDown. I feel like SummerSlam was actually good without it. The matches, like I feel like all the matches delivered. So yeah, I mean, they didn't need it, especially with how they're building these stories. It's not like they're building a story with 2 weeks before SummerSlam. They're actually taking the time and doing this thing, like Sonya and Mandy, or Dominic and Seth. Like they built that. Sasha and Bailey, like they're literally giving the time to build storylines, which is very nice. Because for a while, I feel like they, you know, kind of just maybe rush stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But I love the building of the storylines and how they're doing it. So it's cool.
Me too. Like it does suck when you have to wait sometimes, but you know the payoff is always the best part. And like
Yeah.
Sasha and Bailey, they've been building this up for like 2 years now. I feel like I really like what they've been doing with Bray Wyatt and Braun. Like at first it was the Firefly Funhouse Bray, and then it was that swamp match thing, and then the actual Fiend. Like they've been really building that up. I'm kind of curious to see because now it looks like they're doing the triple threat with Roman now. So
With Roman, yeah, it's good that he's back too.
yeah,
it's really good that he's back.
I didn't see that coming as what they were. You
know, nobody did.
Yeah, I was expecting something with Retribution, but then when Roman came out, I was like, holy smokes! I didn't think he was gonna come back anytime soon because of COVID and all that.
Yeah. But like Retribution, like that's another thing that people are like, who is it? Like that's a very seriously hot topic in wrestling right now. Like who in the heck is Retribution? Like you asked earlier, red hair, who has the red hair. It's kind of cool. Like it keeps you guessing. And like with Bailey and Sasha right now, is Sasha gonna turn on Bailey? Like as an athlete, like I don't even know, because they could plan it out this way and then totally throw a curveball at us. So it's cool. I dig it.
Exactly. Like sometimes they go the obvious route, sometimes they don't. Like I remember like 2 years ago when Shane McMahon turned on The Miz, everyone was expecting The Miz to turn on Shane. So it's like they do throw them curveballs too, and I like that because of all the different things they've been doing throughout the years, like Undertaker losing at WrestleMania to Brock Lesnar, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Who would have thought that he would have ended his streak against a part-time wrestler instead of it being like a young upcoming wrestler? So
yeah,
you do those things. Sometimes it's for good, sometimes for bad, but yeah, you never know.
It seems like good so far.
Yeah, lately it's been a lot of good, honestly. But we'll just have to see. I'm excited for some of these storylines going on right now. But
Me too.
yeah. So Kaci, I think that wraps up our interview. I do want to say that this was very enjoyable. This was one of those interviews that it felt more of a conversation versus it being that strict question answer kind of thing, and I like that, and I definitely appreciate that. You know, just as being just a great conversation at the end of the day. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, Kaci, do you want to share your social media with everyone?
Yeah. So all of my social media is exactly the same. It's Miss, and that's actually something Santana taught me. Because you don't want to have 5 million different social media handles. It gets a little hard to share them. Anywho, all of my social media is Miss Kaci Lennox. So it's MISSKACI LENNOX. across all the platforms. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It is all the same. I have Snapchat, but you guys don't need to know it. I don't use it. I only use it for the filters, but now Instagram has filters, so yeah.
Yeah, same here. I have Snapchat, but I don't really use it. But yeah, make sure you all follow Kaci on all the social media platforms. Same with us. Just look us up at O-Face Wrestling. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Not really that active on Facebook, but hey, Twitter and Instagram are what we're more about. But yeah, thank you again, Kaci, for joining us today on O-Face Wrestling. You're welcome. It was definitely really fun, and hopefully maybe one day we could do a follow-up interview.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm only stuck in the house.
All right. Thank you all again for tuning in to O-Face Wrestling, and you all have a great day.